Hello, hello, my fellow breakaway thinkers. Peace and blessings to you all. I send you love, I send you joy, I send you peace, I send you stability, anything and everything that you want and need in this life. I pray that the Most High will be with you in your time of need. If you're going through something and you are in need of some inspiration, you are in the need of some upliftment and some hope. I send you all the love and all the joy and all the peace that you desire. Um, Now, what I just did here, right? It may be odd to some people, right? Where they're wondering, like, who are you to send love to somebody? I mean, if you understand the fact that we are all connected, we can send love to each other, right? So our words are very powerful. Our words are basically spells that we're casting. That's why we got to be very careful with what we say. Hence why it's called spelling, by the way, because we're casting spells. Anyway, that's a whole nother. I'm not here to talk about that, okay? But I just wanted to say that because I know it would sound odd to somebody when I say I send you love, I send you joy, all these things. It's like, yeah, yeah, we all of us can do that. We all have the ability to send those things to each other, through our words, through our feeling, right? Through our imagination, we can do those things. Anyway, what are we talking about today? Today, the title is The Power of Simplicity. The Power of Simplicity. What does it mean to just have a simple life? Again, this is all based on my understanding, right? I'm not trying to impress anything on anybody as to how they should see things. Just my perspective, and hopefully people that are watching would resonate with it, right? So, what does it mean to live a simple life in all ways, right? I think simplicity is basically taking out the things that don't serve you, taking out the distractions, and we are living in a world where there is so much of it. I mean, it's unbelievable. The distractions are just, and it's in all areas of life too. It'd be one thing if it was in just one place where you can say, okay, I have distractions only as far as, I don't know, TV or whatever. But the distractions is everywhere. It's distractions in health. It's distractions in the mental side of things. It's distraction in, family dynamics. It's just constant distractions coming from all directions, right? Um, so living a simple life to me requires being able to identify what are those things that are taking away your energy. Because everything that we interact with, everything that we deal with on a daily basis requires a certain amount of our energy. So how much energy are we giving to certain things? And a lot of times, when we're living day to day, because a lot of times we're not examining our life, and I raise my hands to this as well. I'm getting better about that. But some days it happens. Where you don't really examine what you're doing. It's kind of like we're living. And then another day comes by and we just repeating, life over and over again, right? And then you don't, you might not even end up realizing what you're actually doing. But being able to just pay attention to the things that are drawing energy away from you, right? It takes some skill to be able to do that. Especially if we're, because of this, again, this environment that we live in and this world that we live in, that is so uh, that is so easy to pull us away, right? That is so makes it so easy to distract us. It's a challenging thing to do, right? So, but being able to do that is important because you can spot the things that are not helping you, the things that are taking energy away from you, and figure out how you can either reduce your interaction with those things or eliminate them completely from your life, right? And that brings that simplicity into your life. So that is a challenge for all of us. Can we identify the things that are pulling us, the things that are not are drawing lots of energy and not bringing us anything in return, right? Social media, it's a big one these days. Everybody's on it, including myself. Okay, so I'm not taking myself out of this, but we're all on it in some capacity, some more than others, of course. But if social media is not adding to your life as much as it's taking out of your life, it's time to take a look at it. It's time to maybe do a social media fast. I don't know, but maybe take a break away from it for a little bit. It could mean deleting the app on the phone. I know, I know these social media companies, they know what they're doing. They've made it extremely addictive. With the likes and all these things. I mean, there's a whole science behind that. And a lot of it is cheap dopamine. Is what I and many others call it. Things that just they get you excited real quick and then on to the next one. TikTok is probably one of the worst ones when it comes to that kind of stuff, right? So how can we find ways to get rid of that cheap dopamine that just fuels us up momentarily? How can we replace that with true dopamine, right? Things that truly bring us joy and truly bring us happiness. I know that was a bit of a segue there, but it's all related anyway. Um, so yeah, simplicity, right? Finding things to take away from your life that don't serve you. If you haven't been able to do that, maybe take some time out and sit down and identify those things. Take some time out to sit down and think and write down what are some of the things that are drawing energy out of me and it's not making any positive influence in my life. It's not helping me to be better in any capacity. And some of these could be, again, like I said, social media. Some of these could be people in your life. It could be all sorts of things. We all have, we're all different, right? So we all have different things that are pulling us away, that are pulling our attention. So it's up to us to just identify individually what those things are. And once you identify them, you know, maybe you can do it as far as order of priority or whatever, for those that may be into doing it that way. And figure out the one that's is drawing the most energy away from you and find a way to pull yourself back from that thing a little bit, whatever that is, right? And in some cases you may want to cut it out completely. If you'll spend a lot of time watching TV, I'm not saying watching TV is bad, okay? Sometimes we all, we come home from work, we're stressed, we want to relax, we want to chill. I get it. I watch TV too. Not as much as I used to, but I watch TV, okay? But if it's not bringing you anything, you might want to look at it. And I'm not saying cut it out completely, but examine how much time you spend it. If it's every day, let's say if it's 3 hours you're watching TV, you might want to cut that down. And also it depends on what you're watching, obviously. The type of content that you're watching on TV as well. But even sometimes it could be things that you're watching that may be good for you. For example, I watch a lot of YouTube. I'm constantly on YouTube watching content, personal development, spirituality. I'm into all types of things. So I watch all sorts of things. But even me, sometimes I could cut back on that a little, right? Because you could use that. It could almost be like a crutch where, you convince yourself that, oh, I'm watching, the good stuff. I'm not watching the reality shows or whatever. Look, it's an egoic thing, right? It's like, look at me. I don't watch that stuff that the other people watch, right? But, even somebody like myself, who doesn't watch as much, general, television, I can still cut back on some of that stuff because sometimes those things are preventing you from taking action on something you could be taking action on, right? It becomes this thing where you would rather, instead of going and taking action, you'd rather sit and watch something and then you justify it as you doing something. But it's like you're not really doing anything. You're just absorbing content, right? You may be absorbing content, the different type of content, but you're still absorbing content. right? And if you're absorbing content and it's not leading to action, it's not leading to any change, then what are you really doing, right? Again, it's not a bad thing. I listen to podcasts. I mean, all that. It's all fantastic. It's wonderful. I'm grateful that we live in a world where it's possible for us to even do that. To listen to some of the most amazing people on all kinds of topics. Like it's beautiful. It's amazing. But there are times when we use that as a crutch. We use that as a excuse to not do certain things. So cutting back on media, altogether. Social media, TV, all the different forms of media. Um, that's, a way to bring simplicity into your life. Doing what I call a social media detox. If it means turning the phone off. And as I say these things, I'm speaking to myself, by the way. This is something that I also need to be better about. Because remember, we're all in this together. I say it every once in a while, in the videos. I want to make that point very clear that we're all in this together. This is not me trying to tell you what to do or anything like that. This is me just sharing what I think. And as we work on ourselves together, as we, talk about some of these, I make some of these topics, express some of these topics that I think about. We're all in it together. As I speak, you know, to you about this, I'm speaking to myself as well. But anyway, so just that is the message really is let's find ways to bring more simplicity into our lives. All the things that are making life more challenging than it should be. It's either we can reduce them or we can cut it out completely. Take a look at your family dynamic. How can you bring some simplicity there? You know, whether it's communication, um, whether it's just the daily tasks. What are some of the things that can make things a little bit more simple? Um, some of it is the technical stuff, like how do you do reminders and calendars, and I mean, there's all that stuff, right? Which you know a lot of people do, and that's good. But there are other ways too that we could bring simplicity that we may not necessarily pay attention to. How can we bring simplicity in our relationships when we communicate with our partner, when we communicate to our loved ones? How can we simplify that? you know, in a way that prevents the arguments and the misunderstandings. And I say this because text message, right? Text messaging is one of those things that it's great, but it also has made communication a little bit complex because you don't really get the emotion. I mean, there's emojis and all that. I mean, I understand that, but it's still not the same. You don't really get what the person is truly saying. You're not getting the tone. You're not getting you know the facial expressions. You're not getting any of that in text message, right? So sometimes when you're texting somebody, you may mean well, but the way that text message comes across, it brings all this confusion. And all of a sudden, somebody's upset and all these things, right? So yes, it's supposed to make things simpler, right? Text messaging, but it's actually, you know, complicating relationship dynamics in a way. I'm not saying it's completely bad, but in a way, it's complicated things a little because we're not getting the true essence of what we're saying, by text message. So, what are ways that we can simplify that? Maybe it could be, and I'm just thinking off the top of my head as I say this, but if something comes to you that you want to speak to somebody about, maybe you set a reminder on your phone for it and make it a priority to speak about that topic in person with that person. Maybe it's like taking a 10-minute block, in your day to speak to your loved ones and say, hey, we got 10 minutes. Anything you want to speak to me about, anything that's come up, throughout the day that, you want to mention, something that you wanted me to do or something that came to you that you would like to express to me, right? Just take a certain amount of time out and spend that time specifically for that. Specifically for I wouldn't say just mechanical, but you could do the mechanical stuff, the reminders of what needs done, blah, 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 and but it could also be things that are outside of that. maybe some insight that you got at work, or something that came to you, some inspiration that you had during the day. 10 minutes might not be enough for all of that. So if you can do it, I don't know, 20 minutes, do it for 20 minutes. If you can do it for 5 minutes, if that's all you got, hey, work with what you got, basically. If it's 5 minutes, then work with 5 minutes. But these are just things that I'm thinking about, ways that we can simplify, our daily lives. Um, one of the big ones is speaking too much. When I say speaking too much, in terms of like oversharing, um, oversharing your life, oversharing just certain things, just oversharing, period. It brings a lot of complications, in my opinion, okay? Brings a lot of complications to life. Sometimes speaking less is actually better, not speaking as much. It's funny I'm saying this and I'm just talking on this video, right? But that's life, right? Life is full of contradictions. Okay. So I can speak a lot and not speak much at the same time. It's all about context, right? So as I'm speaking right now, yes, it's going on, I don't know, 16 minutes, and I'm just speaking again, all off the top, right? But there are going to be certain, so it all depends on what area of life, right? There are certain area of life or certain things where you don't need to speak that much, right? Because speaking always complicates things. The more and more you say, lots of times the more and more people are going to find to use against you. Not only that, the more and more uh, whatever it is that you're saying, again, it's hard for you to take it back, right? Once it goes out, that's it. There's no taking those words back, right? So sometimes speaking less can actually simplify your life. If it's certain people that like to talk too much, you may want to take a bit of a break from them. Okay, I'm not saying cut them all off completely. Now, there may be certain situations that may require you to cut them off. And if that's what you feel like you're led to do, hey, go ahead and do that. Do it from a place of love. Okay, no, I'm not saying go and just be like, hey, I don't want you anymore in my life. I'm done. You talk too much, blah blah blah, and I cut you off and I delete your phone. Like, no, I'm not. I'm not saying anything that extreme. Okay, I'm just saying, you can find a way to do it out of love. If it's, maybe you could be like, listen, I'm not on the same wavelength with you anymore. I'm at a place in my life where I don't need that type of energy. I don't need the gossiping. I don't need the complaining, and I just need to step away from that. I love you and I wish you all the best and everything, but I need to step away. If you need anything, come to me, but we're not going to be hanging around as often as we used to. Okay, just find a way to do it from a place of love, and just everybody just move on. They may not like it, they may not understand it, and that's okay. It's not your job for every single person to like you. Remember, there's 8 billion people on the planet, so you just need a few of them to like you. You don't need all of them to like you. Okay, but anyway, so that could be a way to do it. So um, anyway, I'm gonna wrap up this video. Basically, we're saying simplification, finding ways to simplify our lives as much as possible in all the ways. And it all starts with just examining it, because what you cannot examine, you cannot identify, right? If you cannot identify it, you cannot work to improve it or work to make it better. So it all begins with just identifying those things. And if it requires you sitting down and taking a few minutes to identify that, then sit down and write them down. Okay. Now, yes, sitting down and thinking about it is cool and all, but writing it down, there is something about writing things down. It brings it out and makes it tangible, and you see it. So write it down, those things, and find ways to either detox from them, which is basically stepping away, or taking them out completely. So that is the message for today. I love you all. Thank you all very much for watching the videos. I appreciate it. It's a pleasure of mine to get these messages out there, and I hope that people resonate with it, and enjoy it. So all the best to you all. Love you. See you in the next video. Bye now.